The salt spray stung my face, a cold kiss from a restless lover. The lighthouse keeper's lantern, usually a steadfast friend, flickered weakly against the churning gray. It felt like the whole world was holding its breath, waiting for something awful to happen. The air crackled with a nervous energy that even the gulls seemed to sense, their cries sharper, more frantic than usual. Below, the waves clawed at the jagged rocks, each crash a muffled scream swallowed by the wind. I pulled my collar tighter, the wool scratching against my skin, a small discomfort in the face of the growing unease that coiled in my gut. Something was wrong. Terribly, irrevocably wrong. The scent of brine and decay hung heavy in the air, a familiar perfume that tonight felt tainted, corrupted. It clung to the rotting timbers of the old pier, to the seaweed's slick stones, to the very bones of this lonely island. I could taste it on my tongue, a metallic tang that mirrored the fear rising in my chest. The wind howled a mournful song, a lament for something lost, something broken. I shivered, not entirely from the cold. The lighthouse beam stuttered again, and for a heart-stopping moment, the world dissolved into impenetrable darkness. Then, just as suddenly, the light returned, a weak, wavering promise against the encroaching shadows. But the darkness it pushed back felt different now, thicker, more malevolent. It pressed against the edges of the light, a hungry beast waiting to pounce. I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that whatever was coming wouldn't be stopped by a flickering flame. The first time I saw her, she was a ghost. A wisp of a girl, standing at the edge of the cliff, her hair the color of spun moonlight, her eyes the deep, fathomless blue of the ocean at midnight. I was just a boy then, barely old enough to understand the whispers that haunted the island, the tales of the sea claiming its due. But I understood the loneliness in her gaze, the silent plea for connection that radiated from her like heat from a dying ember. I called out to her, a hesitant, clumsy sound lost in the roar of the waves. She didn't turn, didn't acknowledge me in any way. She simply stood there, a fragile silhouette against the vast, indifferent sky. But the next day, she was there again. And the day after that. Each time, I crept closer, drawn to her like a moth to a flame. We never spoke. We didn't need to. We understood each other in the way only two lost souls can, a silent communion of shared sorrow and quiet desperation. I learned her name, or at least, the name the islanders whispered, Maris. They said she was the daughter of a fisherman, lost at sea years ago, her spirit forever bound to the place of her demise. They warned me to stay away, to not disturb the restless dead. But I couldn't. I was as drawn to her as the tide was to the shore. One day, I brought her a seashell, a perfect spiral of pearly white. I placed it at her feet, a silent offering, a token of my unwavering presence. She looked down at it, her eyes softening, a flicker of something akin to gratitude passing across her face. It was the closest I had ever come to seeing her smile. And in that moment I knew that whatever darkness haunted her, whatever sorrow weighed her down, I would do anything to lift it. I would become her anchor, her light in the storm, her reason to stay. Even if she was just a ghost. Especially if she was just a ghost. Because even ghosts deserve to be loved. The salt spray stung my face, a familiar kiss from a sea that had known me longer than I'd known myself. The lighthouse, a skeletal finger pointing accusingly at the churning gray, pulsed its lonely rhythm. Each sweep of light was a heartbeat, a reminder of the relentless march of time, a time I couldn't seem to outrun. The air hung thick with the scent of brine and decay, a morbid perfume that clung to the rocks and whispered secrets I didn't want to hear. My boots crunched on the gravel path, each step a heavy echo in the vast emptiness. Why did I always come back here? To be swallowed by the melancholy of the coast, to let the wind scour away the fragile facade I'd built in the city? The waves crashed against the jagged cliffs below, a symphony of fury and despair. They clawed at the land, hungry to reclaim what was once theirs. I watched them, mesmerized, feeling a strange kinship with their restless energy. Inside, I felt like those waves, constantly battling against the shore of my own memories, forever losing ground. A flock of gulls wheeled overhead, their cries sharp and mournful, like the ghosts of forgotten promises. I pulled my coat tighter, trying to ward off the chill that had nothing to do with the wind. This place, this desolate stretch of coastline, was a wound in my soul, a raw, unhealed place I couldn't seem to leave alone. It called to me, a siren song of regret and longing. The lighthouse keeper, old Silas, had seen more storms than I'd had birthdays. He knew the sea's moods, its treacherous beauty, its capacity for both destruction and solace. He was a silent witness to my pilgrimages, his weathered face a mask of knowing. He never asked questions, never offered platitudes. He simply nodded, acknowledging the shared burden of the sea. The first time I met her, the sun was painting the sky in hues of rose and gold. She was sitting on the beach, sketching in a worn leather-bound book. Her hair, the color of spun moonlight, cascaded down her back. I remember the way the light caught in her eyes, making them sparkle like the sea itself. I was instantly, irrevocably drawn to her quiet grace, her serene beauty. She looked like she belonged to the sea, a creature of the tides and the wind. I was a city boy, lost and adrift, but she made me feel like I'd finally found my harbor. Her name was Ilara, and she was a painter. She captured the raw beauty of the coast on canvas, translating the turbulent sea into brushstrokes of vibrant color. She saw things I never noticed, the subtle shifts in the light, the intricate patterns in the rocks, the way the waves danced with the shore. She taught me to see the world with new eyes, to appreciate the beauty in the mundane, to find solace in the rhythm of nature. We spent hours walking along the beach, talking about everything and nothing. She told me stories of the sea, of mermaids and shipwrecks and hidden treasures. I told her about my dreams, my fears, my longing for something more than the life I was living. We were inseparable that summer. We explored hidden coves, climbed the jagged cliffs, and watched the sun rise and set over the endless horizon. We shared secrets and dreams, laughter and tears. She was my muse, my confidant, my soulmate. I thought we would be together forever, two souls bound by the magic of the sea. I remember the way her hand felt in mine, the soft brush of her lips against my cheek, the feeling of her head resting on my shoulder as we watched the stars twinkle above us. Those moments, those perfect, fleeting moments, were etched into my memory, like carvings on the ancient stones of the coast. They were a beacon in the darkness, a reminder of the joy and love that once filled my life. But even beacons can be extinguished, and the sea, as beautiful as it is, can also be cruel. The storm raged for 3 days. The wind howled like a banshee, tearing at the trees and whipping the waves into a frenzy. The lighthouse beam, usually a steady guide, was swallowed by the darkness. I huddled inside Silas's cottage, listening to the fury of the storm, feeling a growing sense of dread. Ilara had gone out to paint that morning, drawn to the raw power of the sea. I begged her not to go, but she was adamant. She said she needed to capture the storm, to translate its energy onto canvas. I watched her walk out into the teeth of the wind, her silhouette disappearing into the swirling gray. That was the last time I saw her alive. They found her easel first, splintered and broken on the rocks below. Then, after days of searching, they found her body, washed up on the shore, her hair tangled with seaweed, her eyes wide and vacant. The sea had claimed her, swallowed her whole, leaving me with nothing but emptiness and grief. The painting she had been working on was never found. It was as if the sea had taken it as a trophy, a reminder of its power over life and death. The funeral was a blur of tears and whispers. I remember standing by her grave, feeling numb and hollow, unable to comprehend the enormity of my loss. The sky was a cold, indifferent gray, mirroring the emptiness in my heart. The lighthouse still stands, a silent sentinel against the relentless sea. But the light within me has dimmed. The colors have faded. The music has stopped. I walk the beach now, a solitary figure haunted by the ghost of a love lost to the waves. The sea, once a source of joy and inspiration, is now a constant reminder of my pain. I see her face in every wave, hear her voice in every gust of wind. The memory of her touch is a phantom sensation, a bittersweet reminder of what I've lost. I come back here, to this desolate place, not because I want to, but because I have to. It's a pilgrimage of grief, a desperate attempt to reconnect with the woman I loved, the woman the sea stole away. Silas, the old lighthouse keeper, sees me now, standing at the edge of the cliff, staring out at the endless horizon. He knows my pain, understands my longing. He sees the ghost of Ilara in my eyes, the shadow of grief that clings to my soul. He nods, a silent acknowledgement of our shared burden. He knows that the sea never gives up its secrets, that the ghosts of the past will always haunt the present. He knows that I will keep coming back, drawn to this place by the invisible threads of memory and loss, forever bound to the woman who loved the sea, and who was ultimately claimed by it. He knows that I will never truly escape the sea, or the pain it has brought me. It is a part of me now, woven into the fabric of my being, a constant reminder of the love that was, and the love that will never be again. The salt spray stung my face, a cold kiss from a restless ocean. Above, the gulls wheeled and cried, their voices swallowed by the wind that clawed at my coat, mimicking the ache in my chest. The lighthouse stood sentinel against the gray horizon, its beam a hesitant finger pointing toward a truth I wasn't sure I wanted to find. Each rotation cast a fleeting, ghostly glow on the weathered planks beneath my feet, illuminating the cracks and knots, the years etched into the wood like lines on a grieving face. The scent of brine and decay hung heavy in the air, a constant reminder of time's relentless passage, of things lost and never recovered. The foghorn groaned, a mournful bellow that resonated deep within my bones, stirring memories best left undisturbed. It was a sound that had haunted my childhood, a sound inextricably linked to him. To the man who'd vanished into the mist, leaving behind a void that no amount of time could fill. I gripped the railing, the cold metal biting into my skin, grounding me in the present, a desperate attempt to ward off the rising tide of the past. The lighthouse keeper, Silas, had said the sea held secrets, that it never truly relinquished what it claimed. He said the ocean whispered stories to those who listened closely enough. I hadn't believed him then, but now, standing on the precipice of the unknown, I wondered if the waves were finally ready to tell me his. He smelled of wood smoke and the sea. That's the first thing I remember. Papa's hands, rough and callous from years of hauling nets and mending lines, were gentle as he'd lift me, a tiny, squirming thing, onto his shoulders. From that vantage point, the world stretched out before me, endless and full of wonder. The fishing boats bobbed like toys on the horizon, the gulls danced in the sky, and the lighthouse, our constant companion, stood tall and unwavering. He'd tell me stories of mermaids and sea monsters, of brave sailors and hidden treasures, his voice a low rumble that calmed my fears and ignited my imagination. Evenings were spent huddled around the crackling fireplace, the warmth chasing away the chill of the sea air. He'd carve wooden toys for me, his hands moving with practiced ease, transforming rough blocks of wood into whimsical creatures. I remember the lullabies he sang, ancient melodies passed down through generations of seafaring families. Songs of loss and longing, of the relentless power of the ocean, of the enduring strength of the human spirit. His voice, though weathered by the years, was rich with emotion, each note a testament to a life lived in harmony with the sea. He taught me to read the tides, to understand the language of the wind, to respect the power of the ocean. He showed me how to bait a hook, how to cast a line, how to feel the subtle tug that signaled a catch. He said the sea provided, but it also demanded respect. He said it was a fickle mistress, capable of both great beauty and terrible destruction. He built me a small sailboat, a miniature replica of his own fishing vessel. He named it the Wanderer, a reflection of his own restless spirit. We'd spend hours sailing along the coastline, the wind filling the sails, the sun warming our faces. He taught me how to navigate by the stars, how to use a compass, how to find my way even when the fog rolled in thick and heavy. He said that even when lost, the sea could guide you home, if you knew how to listen. Those days were filled with laughter and sunshine, with the salty spray of the ocean and the comforting presence of my father. They were days I clung to, like driftwood in a storm, long after he was gone. The photograph in my hand, faded and creased, showed him smiling, his eyes crinkled at the corners from years of squinting into the sun. His arm was around my shoulder, his grip firm and reassuring. I was perhaps 5 or 6 years old, my face smeared with dirt and my hair tangled by the wind. We were standing in front of the lighthouse, its white tower looming behind us like a silent guardian. It was a perfect moment, frozen in time, a testament to a love that had seemed unbreakable. A love that the sea, ultimately, had stolen away. The lighthouse beams swept across the photograph, momentarily illuminating his face, bringing him back to life for a fleeting instant. And then, darkness again. The storm raged for 3 days. 3 days of howling wind and torrential rain, of mountainous waves crashing against the shore. 3 days of fear and uncertainty, of praying for his safe return. I remember clinging to Mama, her face pale and drawn, her eyes fixed on the raging sea. The radio crackled with static, the Coast Guard issuing warnings to all vessels at sea. One by one, the fishing boats limped back into the harbor, battered and bruised, their crews exhausted and shaken. But his boat, the Wanderer, never returned. They found wreckage washed ashore a week later. Splintered wood, torn sails, a tattered life vest. Nothing else. No sign of him. The sea had swallowed him whole, leaving behind only fragments of a life, scattered like broken shells on the beach. Mama never recovered. She faded away slowly, like a wilting flower, her spirit broken by the loss. I was sent to live with my aunt in the city, far away from the ocean, far away from the memories that haunted me. I tried to forget, to bury the pain, to build a new life. But the sea, like a persistent ghost, followed me everywhere. I heard its whispers in the city's bustling streets, saw its reflection in the rain-slicked pavement, felt its cold breath on my skin. It was a constant reminder of what I had lost, of the emptiness that would never truly be filled. The funeral was a blur. A gray, somber affair held in the small chapel overlooking the harbor. Fishermen in their weathered coats, their faces etched with grief, lined the pews. Mama wept silently, her shoulders shaking with each sob. I stood beside her, numb and disoriented, unable to comprehend the finality of it all. The priest spoke of the sea's capricious nature, of its ability to both give and take away. He spoke of faith and hope, of finding solace in God's love. But his words offered little comfort. All I could feel was a profound sense of loss, a gaping hole in my heart that threatened to swallow me whole. They scattered his ashes into the sea, the wind carrying them away like whispers on the breeze. I watched them disappear into the waves, a part of him returning to the ocean that had claimed him. Years passed. The pain dulled, but never completely disappeared. The lighthouse, once a symbol of safety and security, became a monument to loss, a constant reminder of the day the sea took him away. I avoided the coast, afraid of confronting the memories that lay buried beneath the waves. But the ocean, like a lover scorned, refused to be ignored. It called to me in my dreams, beckoned me with its siren song, lured me back to the place where my heart had been broken. And now, here I was, standing on the edge of the abyss, ready to face the ghosts of my past. Silas, the lighthouse keeper, a man as weathered and worn as the cliffs themselves, met me with a knowing look. He'd known Papa. They'd fished together for years, sharing stories and secrets under the watchful gaze of the lighthouse. He offered me a cup of strong black coffee, the warmth spreading through my chilled fingers. "He loved the sea, your father," Silas said, his voice raspy from years of shouting over the wind. "It was in his blood. He wouldn't have had it any other way." I wanted to scream, to tell him that he was wrong, that the sea had betrayed him, that it had stolen him away from me. But the words caught in my throat, choked by a wave of grief. Instead, I simply nodded, the tears welling up in my eyes. Silas placed a comforting hand on my shoulder, his touch surprisingly gentle. "He left something for you," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "Something he wanted you to have." He led me to the base of the lighthouse, to a small, locked room I had never noticed before. He produced a key, its metal cold and tarnished, and unlocked the door. Inside, the room was small and dusty, filled with the scent of old wood and forgotten things. A single shaft of sunlight pierced through a grimy window, illuminating a wooden chest in the center of the room. Silas stepped aside, allowing me to approach. My heart pounded in my chest as I knelt before the chest, my hands trembling as I lifted the lid. Inside, nestled amongst faded maps and nautical charts, was a small, wooden box. I opened it, and a wave of memories washed over me. It was filled with the wooden toys Papa had carved for me, the whimsical creatures he had brought to life with his skilled hands. There was the mermaid with her flowing hair, the sea monster with its menacing teeth, the brave sailor with his unwavering gaze. And beneath the toys, a letter. Written in Papa's familiar hand, the ink faded but still legible. I unfolded it carefully, my fingers tracing the words he had written so long ago. "My dearest Lily," it began. "If you are reading this, it means I am gone. The sea has claimed me, as it has claimed so many before me. Do not grieve for me, my love. Know that I lived a life filled with joy and purpose, a life lived in harmony with the ocean. And know that I loved you more than words can say. The sea may have taken me, but it can never take away the love we shared. Remember the stories I told you, the songs I sang to you, the lessons I taught you. And always, always, remember that even in the darkest of storms, there is always hope. Find your way back to the sea, Lily. Let it heal you, let it guide you, let it remind you of the love that will never die." Tears streamed down my face as I finished reading the letter, the words echoing in my heart. The sea hadn't stolen him away. It had simply brought him home. And in that moment, standing in that small, dusty room, surrounded by the memories of my father, I finally understood. The sea wasn't a monster. It was a part of him, a part of me, a part of our family. And it was time to embrace it, to forgive it, to let it heal the wounds that had festered for so long. I closed my eyes, and for the first time in years, I felt a sense of peace. The ocean whispered my name, a soft, gentle murmur that promised solace and renewal. I was home.